Opening day of hunting season, 2017. Good Lord, George. How many years have we been doing this?
50.
Probably 50. Yeah, probably 50. I think I was 19 or 20 when we first met. Started hunting. Holy Lord. We don't go at her quite as hard as we used to. But it's been a lot of fun. You know, we've raised both his boy and obviously Jason. Just love to hunt. I mean, it's a great sport. Over eastern part of the state of Montana, it's, you know, the hills are not near as steep as when you get into the mountain ranges. It's just too physical anymore. But
I can remember Jason that one time down there. Came around the corner, there's a mule deer laying down, probably 30-inch spread. Jason's 12 years old, never shot a deer yet. I said, right there, Jason. Jason goes, I think I'll wait. I don't know if he's big enough. So if you don't shoot him, I'm going to. And Jason finally did shoot him. It's a hell of a nice buck. But
yeah, first buck, you know, he starts off with a 30-inch muley.
Pretty much every single opening day of Montana's general rifle season has had one common theme. Me being with my dad and George in the middle of nowhere, Montana, waiting for daylight to break. This hunt from back in 2017 was no different. The only thing that's different now is George is no longer with us. This coming opening day will be the first year in my life he won't be cruising down these back roads with Dad and I. And I felt like it was only right to give him a tribute. This past year, in 2021, right around Christmas time, we lost a man who was like a second father to me. George has been there for every single thing I can remember in my life. He's been one of the biggest supporters of this TV show. There was never a doubt in George's mind that I could do this. And I do think a big part of me and what I do today came from George.
I don't think we heard what he said the whole time.
I wasn't even paying attention to what he was talking about.
I wanted to reflect back on this elk hunt from 2017. It's some of the most special days we've all spent together. And I think this hunt shows George as a person from start to finish. Well, it's a big day here in Montana. Something I've looked forward to since before I was even old enough to hunt, and that's the opening day of rifle season here, which, you know, it's really when a lot of people first start hunting. Like, you know, not everybody bow hunts, so this is when a lot of the kids get out for the first time of the year, and a lot of new tags open up. For example, we had just left sheep camp and last night and came down to meet my dad and George. George has drawn a very coveted bull tag for the area we're in, bull elk tag. And we're excited about being here to help George and my dad try to find a nice bull for George, and yeah, I wouldn't miss being here for the world. So, fingers are crossed today.
small hit of dopamine floods in my bloodstream. A notification calls me to act now. Constant distractions divert my attention to the fact that I'm no longer happy somehow. The media.
I don't think you can talk about George Dieruf without talking about his sense of humor and his ability to tell a great story. There are a couple of the things I really admire about him, and a big part of who I am today. One of my favorite parts about going hunting with Dad and George was listening to those stories, but also the banter between these two was classic. This clip kicked off our hunt in 2017 for George's bull, and I thought it was a perfect example of what it was like to be like with these two from the time I can remember.
So tell me, of you guys, who's probably the better shot?
By far me.
So maybe repeat the question. Say, he can say all he wants, but at least when it comes to shooting,
Not even close. I've taught him everything he knows. We were nothing to do with hunting, but we were fishing one time in a boat, spin fishing, and Tim goes to throw a lure, and he throws it real hard, and you can hear the line going out, and he's looking out there for it to hit. And actually the lure went straight up and came down and landed in the boat. I said, "You got a better chance of catching a duck than a fish." It was funny. You can ask him the same question, who's the better shot?
oh,
And he might tell the truth. There he is again, out picking up another piece of eastern Montana. He picks up every stump, every rock, every old piece of machinery he can find. So I don't even have to come down here to see eastern Montana. I just drive out to his house. He got most of the stuff out of his house that was down here to start with. But Tim, well, Matt asked me, and I hope you tell the truth for once in your life, but he said, "Who's the better shot of you two?" And I said, "Me by far."
And you know what? I would agree.
What?
George has made some of the most incredible shots I've ever seen. I have a heck of a time with like coyotes or something that are running. I never lead them enough. And I've seen him roll some stuff over out there 500 yards on a dead run.
That's pretty amazing. 50 years, that's the first compliment you've ever paid me.
It's true, I'll admit it. And a shotgun, I might as well throw a rock at a bird. It's
I
shotgun.
also told Matt about fishing. Kells was plowing that time.
You wonder why I do this. Yeah, my lure went about 50 yards in the air and about 10 feet out. He goes, "You got a better chance of getting a duck than a fish."
He's starting to learn,
But he is definitely a good shot. There's no doubt about it.
Thank
I
you.
will admit it.
thanks for once in your
Yes,
life. One
you're
compliment.
very welcome. It's sad but true.
Another quality about George I remember is how good of a shot he was. Since I can remember, he would go out to the trap club out in Logan, Montana every Wednesday and shoot trap with his friends. It's just what he did, and I think doing that really gave him that ability to see the target and follow through on the shot. And because of that, he was an incredible shot, and he had great pride in it, as he should.
where's he at? I see the one on the top, Jason. Where's the other one?
Shortly after daybreak, I spotted some bulls feeding on a hillside that I knew we could get into position on.
Where's he at? The bull that's on the far left. You can just see his antlers. No, back over here. Okay, he's just.
Honestly, I kind of figured it would be a slam dunk for George to make the shot on this bull. So I was surprised when his bullet didn't connect.
It's 350, George.
Make sure I'm on the right one.
There's a big bull and he's in the shadows.
He's got his head down
He's got
feeding.
his head down feeding. He's just to the right of the big tree.
Okay.
That big tree is 360.
Okay.
That big tree is 360. 360.
Throughout my entire lifetime,
Missing?
that's one of the first times I can remember George missing a shot, especially on something the size of a bull elk. I think we were all in shock, honestly. Where the pavement ends, on X begins. After we felt confident that George hadn't hit the bull, we decided to move on and look for another elk. But no day hunting out here would be complete without tailgate sandwiches and listening to college football highlights. This has become one of my favorite parts of every hunt with these two.
Ever on the run, never look back, son. You live by the gun and you're gonna die young.
And of course, more stories.
He must not have got you.
George had a knack for knowing the woods and being able to spot animals. And he had a passion for it. He's one of the only guys I know that, from the time I've known him, would come out here by himself and sleep in the back of his truck under the stars by himself. With no plan on when to come home or where he was going to go. My dad and I would always joke that we thought he was lost most of the time. That next morning, I spotted a beautiful 6-point feeding with some cows on a ridge down in the valley below us. I figured with Dad and George and the pace that these elk were moving, we'd have a good chance of getting George in for a shot.
It's 450, George.
George had an incredible amount of patience. I've never seen someone who could look at one particular animal for so long and study every single piece of him, from the color of its hide to the details of its antlers. George had an eye for detail, and it showed in everything he did, from his hunting to his incredible penmanship and even artwork.
Stay above him so we don't get so he doesn't even smell us. Which way's the wind
As things go out here, the terrain switched. When we got in there, I realized the elk was a lot further down than I originally thought, and we were just out of position. So my plan was to have George and Dad walk around to the top of the ridge, and me move in and see if I could see the elk. If I accidentally bumped him out, the bull should come out somewhere around where Dad and George are at. Either way, we should have been able to turn up this bull.
Work this rim here. Where we last saw the bull was kind of back over in this timber over here. Dad and George are going to kind of work around this side over here, and we're just going to see if we can turn him up, and in the meantime maybe find a deer or something. So let's just start working this edge here.
Not long into my hike, I heard some gunshots and knew the bull must have run by Dad and George.
I just heard 2 shots. George right there.
When I crested the hill and saw Dad and George standing there, I knew that
I could see a
we had
big
done
beam
it as a
sticking off the
team
ground.
together for the past couple of days. And it really was a team effort. But looking back on this day, I don't think it could have got much better. The weather was beautiful. We were all in our health. And George was able to take the biggest bull he had ever taken in his life. And the best part was we were together. I don't think you could have wiped the smile off of our faces for the next couple of days. I feel like everything about that hunt just came together perfectly. And the older I get, the more I realize how rare that is in hunting. When you get the tag you want, and you're with the people you want to be with, and you get that animal you set out to get, it's just something that doesn't happen very often.
Good long fronts on you too.
So, as I look back on this hunt, I feel like this was everything about George that I grew to admire and respect. This hunt culminated that.
This bull, I think, is bigger, don't you?
I think he's. I think the other one might be on a touch heavier, maybe, but this one's got longer points. I'm sure.
Yeah, I
Bigger
think-
whale tail by far.
yeah.
Yeah, like yesterday when we were driving in here, I just talked about how much it meant to me to be here, to be putting down this road on opening day and have these guys with me, Dad and George. George is like a second father to me, always has been, and it's what I look forward to every year, and it means a lot to be able to come down here and continue to find success with these guys and have good times and be in our health and have beautiful days like this. And I mean, to be with George, you know, this could be, I would guess, your biggest bull of your life.
Yeah.
To be here on this day is just what it's all about. And
Yeah, pretty bold.
I can't tell you how much Dad has taught me about hunting and, you know, just how to be a good person in life and treat people fair. And these are just my 2 mentors, and it's what it's all about.
And we bring Jason along for his eyes. We can't see quite as good as we used to.
He's got a pretty strong
Yeah.
back too.
Yeah.
It's obviously, we've said a million times, hunting's not about the killing. Obviously we want to, and it's always the end goal, but I wouldn't want to miss this for the world. I have a sheep tag. It's the most coveted tag in the world, and we're almost 350 miles away from that area right now, here hunting elk with these guys, and I wouldn't miss it for the world. And I am so happy this worked out the way it did. It just, we always say things are meant to be, and perfect example. Pretty awesome.
Yep. Thanks for your help, Jason.
Absolutely.
Timmy.
Yep, you're welcome. Nice bull. Thank you. Glad you got him.
Me too. We've had so many good memories together and have traveled all over North America hunting everything from pronghorn to elk and mule deer and black bear. It's hard for me to really put into words what all someone like George meant to me.
But yeah, elk hunting's always in my blood, I guess. And I've shot quite a few in my life. This is probably as good a bull as I've ever shot, but he's a pretty bull. Got real nice.
George's
shape to him, big
legacy
bullets.
will continue to live on here in Bozeman. If you're ever downtown on Main Street, I encourage you to go into Schnee's Boots and Shoes and check out the Powderhorn gun room in the back. That's something that George's father started back in 1942. And it continues to carry on that Dieruf family legacy today, with a lot of the stories and trophies that George was able to collect through the years. I still go in that room, but it'll never be the same without George. I guess if there's one takeaway from this, it's that the older I get, the more I learn that life is short, and that moments like this come and go at the blink of an eye, and to enjoy every little aspect of them. Even if the hunt isn't going the way that it was planned, remember how lucky you are to be out there with the people who really mean something to you, doing what you really love. That is rare on this earth. That alone is rare. And George, I'm going to miss you forever.